All right, getting into our finals match here. It's going to be the same matchup we saw in top 4, Keldeo Blastoise against Yveltal Garb. Cal is going to be on the bottom. We will see Cal's perspective here up against Gabriel on the other side with that Yveltal Garb. So, and Gabriel just came off a very long top 4 third game down to the wire. They said in chat they were shaking, needed some time after that one. So, we'll see if that has any impact on this game. But going to be the same matchup we just saw in top 4. So we know how this one wants to play out for both sides of this. And Cal's hand is pretty good to start with. We have plenty of supporters. We have a Beach. We have that Squirtle already down. And I don't know about you, Matt. This Yveltal, I think the Fuller obviously takes the cake, but for non-Fuller Yveltals, this has to be the best one, right? The art of this Yveltal.
Yeah, the XY base Yveltal art is so nice.
Yeah, when they released the shiny one, the promo, the Bacon Bird, I definitely used that one because it was very cheap. But this one has always been very preferential for me. But, well, yeah, of course, the full art is the best. I mean, hands down. Gorgeous card. One of the best full arts from this era, I would even go as far as to say. But all right, so Gabriel going to start off with an Ultra Ball, getting rid of a Dark Energy and another Ultra Ball. So getting the Dark Energy in the discard pile is big. Activate that Dark Patch, and we get a DCE to the active and a Trubbish benched before we pass. That's a great top deck. I actually think that or an Ultra Ball might have been the best top deck for Cal. I don't think you really want to play the end here. Yeah, I was like, I think you just researched his hand. Dig a little bit deeper.
It's a little awkward because his opponent didn't play a supporter last turn, and you don't want to give them that free fresh 6 cards.
Yeah, and the rest of the cards in your hand weren't actually that significant to discard. You were putting some energy in the discard pile. You did lose your war total. You did lose one of the Blastoise, but you do play more. There's that Super Rod in hand, which is immediately getting pitched to this Ultra Ball. But you still have 2 Blastoise left in the deck, and Dowsing Machine if you really need to get back your Pokemon or anything. But this is shaping up to be a great first turn from Cal. Gets that Kyurem down onto the bench, double Squirtle's down as well, and the Keldeo with an energy attachment, and we'll get to Beach for 4 cards here. Choosing to get the Blastoise instead, so just hoping to get into that Blastoise on the following turn, and with the Skyla in hand, that guarantees a rare candy. So I like this approach from Cal, playing it a little bit safer and just getting a Blastoise with that Ultra Ball. We see Random Receiver, and a Juniper is found, so not an N, which means Cal gets to keep this hand. And Random Receiver, that's a card we don't see too often.
Yeah, Gabriel looks to be playing it as just a one of. It's kind of an interesting way to play it because you can junk hunt for a Random Receiver, which is essentially junk hunting for a supporter.
Right, and where we've seen matches playing out in this tournament of Yveltal Garb just kind of drawing really dead throughout the game, you get the additional, it's kind of like playing 1 extra copy of each of your supporters. And like you said, with that junk hunt, it has really great synergy. You can go back and get that Random Receiver, use it to find a supporter on the next turn, hopefully. So it's the next best thing to getting a supporter off of junk hunt. And the rest of Gabriel's turn here, I was a little bit interested to see if we saw that muscle band attached to the Garb to activate Garbotoxin, especially since Gabriel saw that Cal went right ahead with the Ultra Ball for that Blastoise. Ooh, and top deck's
the top deck of the handy.
Would have been cool if there was another gold Random Receiver, but with Sycamore on it. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I prefer the gold Random Receiver with Juniper anyway, because that was one that was legal at the time. And it's a very pretty card. I have just one of them. I was trying to get more for my 2012 decks, but very, very pretty card. Meanwhile, we do see Cal getting that Deluge, setting up to take a one-shot on this Yveltal if we're able to find 1 more energy, which we do. And this is a great start from Cal, but now we have to be a little bit careful because playing into taking prizes too early, you could go down to a low hand size and you could end Garbotoxins. You know, all these things can happen to you. The comeback mechanics that existed in this format. And you need to find a way to get rid of the Garbotoxin's Float Stone on the following turn, assuming that Gabriel can find it. We haven't seen that quite yet. Have 1 gold on TCGO, have all those retros, yeah.
There we go.
Yes,
the Float Stone down onto the Garbodor, activating that Garbotoxin ability.
And that's huge. We also could even see a Y Cyclone to take the KO here if there's another attacker set up. Dark Patch onto the Sableye, but I wonder what follow-up Gabriel has in hand. They haven't really done a ton since that early Juniper. Do at least find, though, the Bicycle for 3, so they can have a little bit more draw here. Definitely want to find an N if they can. Get the Laser. And actually getting that
interesting
Dark
play
Eye,
here
yeah.
could be to go into the Sableye Junk Hunt, set up some Dark Patches or something else for the following turns, and hoping that the Keldeo either doesn't retreat and you get knocked out, or setting up the snipe damage for 30 from the Darkrai EX down the line.
Yeah, it sets up 2 different ways to take that last 30, which is really relevant. We do see the Y Cyclone KO, but I liked your approach there, especially since, I mean, we have the luxury of seeing that Cal has that Skyla in hand to just go Skyla plus the superior retrieval, so it can just go take a KO right away with this Black Ballista. Although, is there a lightning energy in the discard pile?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So we're actually going to need probably to play this Juniper then. You can at least get all these waters out of the discard pile and set up. Actually, no, you can't, because you have to play the Skyla to get the Megaphone. So this is a little bit tricky. You don't have that water energy.
Yeah, it looks like he's probably going to have to go for a Professor Juniper play here. Hope that they hit a Megaphone and the retrieval and the energy.
Not even close. Missing that key Megaphone, missing the retrieval, missing pretty much everything. We did at least get an energy, Ultra Ball, and a Tropical Beach, so can fill up this hand for the next turn. But you just lost some very important tempo this turn. This Yveltal is going to get a free hit in on your Kyurem. And we do find... Oh, we do get the Max Potion plus Megaphone off that beach, though. That Max Potion going to be huge once again.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting, because you can just get rid of all the damage from that Y Cyclone or Evo Ball play that is likely going to come from Gabriel.
And that's something we actually didn't even mention on that previous turn where you were talking about setting up the KO with Darkrai, or if the poison was able to stick on that Keldeo. But I think we both forgot that Max Potion is in this Blastoise deck, so not taking KOs where you can get them because of that Max Potion existing and the Dowsing Machine, which can get the Max Potion back. You have to be very careful of leaving prizes on the board when your opponent can just completely heal that damage off. Yeah,
there's
Max
the
Potion
end,
does
putting him
buy
down
that
to 4
turn back.
cards.
So that's a great start, especially after your opponent uses Beach. But we do... Wow, this is a perfect hand off of that, though.
That's insane.
That's so absurd. Skyla to go get the energy retrieval. You got the Megaphone. You got the lightning energy.
And
I mean,
hits
you got
the heads to wake up. That's those are the perfect set of cards you needed. Unfortunately, we'll be losing out on the Dowsing Machine. But since he's gonna be going down to 2 prizes, doesn't really need it with the last Startling Megaphone still in the deck.
And actually, oh, there's one in the deck. Okay, because we had the one in hand. I was like, I think it's prize, but it's not. You will go down to a 0-card hand here. But you get the 2 prizes. The Beach is still in play as well, so you could actually throw up something like that Squirtle on the bench to just give yourself an extra turn to draw off of Beach. So, very great draw off that end.
Cal should be far enough ahead off of this to be able to take a turn next turn if he really needs to. It's unlikely that an Yveltal will be able to fully knock out a Black Kyurem EX on its own. So we'll have the time to sit back in Tropical Beach if that option still is there.
And that was something you mentioned in the last, the top 4 matches, where getting rid of the energy with Black Ballista is actually good for you, because it means that the Evo Ball is doing less damage. There is, however, a Yveltal on the bench with 3 energy already on it, so I don't... Could it ever actually get to... I guess with Dark Patch and another DCE, you could get there with a Muscle Band or something. I'd have to do the math out on that one, but... Saw Cal thinking about playing that Dowsing Machine. Correctly identifying here, I think that you need to just take these prizes where you can.
I believe DCE Muscle Band will take the knockout if Gabriel has it next turn, with the poison damage already on board.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right to me. But we do have 2 water energy on the benched Kyurem already, so need to find... I mean, honestly, at this point, you're just going to need to get... Have to assume you're just going to need to get that Megaphone for the next turn, and just an out to get this energy out of the discard pile once more. The Dowsing Machine getting discarded, though, is pretty big. Means that you have 1 less out to finding either of those 2 combo pieces on the following turn. And the Garbotoxin is replaced with that Floatstone coming down, so looking at Cal's current hand, unless we top deck like a Research or a Juniper or something, we are going to have to Beach most likely this next turn, which isn't terrible. You can afford to take that time.
No, definitely not the end of the world.
I think if Gabriel gets a KO, however, with a big Yveltal here, though, you could be worried if you're Cal, especially since you have 2 energy on the bench Kyurem already. So something like a Lysander could very much close out the game if you are able to kind of just build up a huge Yveltal to run over your opponent.
One little nuance that I saw from Gabriel is he elected to promote the Yveltal EX instead of the Sableye or the Garbodor. Since he was going to attach the Floatstone to the Garbodor, it would have free retreat, or he could have gone into the Sableye, which has free retreat with the Floatstone off because of Darkrai. This kind of limited his options of being able to Dark Patch. So kind of just making him be more all in on hitting the DCE play if he wants to get the 1-hit knockout.
Yeah, and that's actually a huge, I would even call it a misplay at this point, just not giving yourself that chance. I don't know what's in hand, but, you know, promoting your free retreater is always when you have one of those in play. Oh, we do see a switch, though, so maybe, I was going to say maybe thinning down for a bicycle play, so I guess it doesn't end up mattering at this point. It just kind of seems like a nuance of like, well, you didn't have to play the switch if you promoted the Garb, but yeah, definitely could have been very impactful, like you said, if there was a Dark Patch. It just limits your options, so definitely want to promote those free retreaters when you have them in play.
I think an important thing that we just saw here is they bumped the Tropical Beach for the Burbank City Gym. This limits Cal's draw options going into the next turn, meaning that he's really just reliant on his top decks now. He doesn't have that luxury of, you know, kind of waiting a turn, drawing up to 7, hoping to find some good cards off of that.
We do get the Dark Patch here too. And yes, more to that point as well. This is how this Yveltal Garb deck really comes back in the late game, is you have Garbotoxin established. Wow, is he going to get the KO here? I think with the Burbank, he'll pick up this KO with Evil Ball.
Yeah, that should do it.
And this just puts the pressure on, like I was saying, like now you just have a huge Yveltal that is just ready to run through your board. Polui? I'm so sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it.
There's the Megaphone, but unfortunately it doesn't really do anything right there.
Yeah, and you have to kind of pass. Hope your opponent doesn't have the Lysander for game.
Yeah, if he does have Lysander, that should be game, but hopes to hit it. There it is. The Lysander play takes the knockout on the Keldeo, should at least.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
Wow. Well, you could have taken it on the
Black Kyurem.
On the Kyurem for sure, but yep.
Going into this second game, Cal will have the luxury of going first, which gives him just a little bit more time to set up his Blastoises. Trying to, you know, find that Tropical Beach early on, set up behind a couple Squirtles to find all the pieces he needs. So hopefully he can get his pieces going and we'll see another great game.
Yeah, and that was actually like a pretty back and forth game. You know, Gabriel didn't have a lot going on in the early turns, it seems like, but then just the power of that N Garbotoxin in the late game. And actually, it wasn't even the N so much as it was just that, because Cal was able to get the perfect 4 cards off of that N, but it was nothing past that. It was kind of the N, and then that was it. There was nothing else beyond that the next turn. and you know, just taking the game with a huge Yveltal. So something that Cal definitely wants to watch out for in this one. And you're just always at the mercy of that end Garbotoxin, so maybe you just kind of want to set up more threats before you go down to those low prize cards. Take it a little bit slower, but then you run the risk of giving your opponent too much time to get set up. So we'll see if anything changes on the approach from Cal or Gabriel in this one. And hoping for another great game here. Although this opening hand from Cal is horrible.
Very awkward opening hand. There is limited pressure from the Yveltal deck when they can go second, because they can go Dark Patch, Float Stone, attach, knock out with an Yveltal. So it's really, do you value your two Blastoises? Because you haven't had a deck search yet. You don't know if there's one in the prize cards.
Well, and your Dowsing Machine is in hand too. Like, there's so many resources in this hand. Are you Junipering this hand if it's you playing?
Personally, I think no, just because it guarantees your turn 2 Blastoise and you don't know what's in your prize cards yet.
That's fair, but it is game 2 of the finals. Like, I mean, are you risking getting donked like this? Is there? Does Gabriel play the Oblivion Wing Yveltal? Because you could go Laser Oblivion Wing to get the game here too.
They do, yes.
Okay, so going
it does go
this
for the
way,
Yveltal EX though.
Well, they discarded a Dark Energy as well, so they must have like a Dark Patch or something in hand. Get another Yveltal down. Is Cal going to survive the DCE Juniper? So just a Dark Patch will do it. Do we see the Dark Patch? Sableye bench.
Sableye, maybe indicating that he doesn't have it.
Can we thin down to another Bicycle? Yeah. But then if Cal survives here, Stellar making a great point that Cal can get the candy off on this next turn before researching. So if you survive, your turn 2 isn't the end of the world. And wow, the whiff. And top deck's the Keldeo. That's great too. Can actually use these energies. That's a fantastic, yeah. That was a very risky line from Cal. Like, so many outs to getting donked there, but being able to make use of this energy. Sucks to lose the other Blastoise, your Dowsing Machine, of course, the Max Potion, but you need to just establish your board now and take out this Trubbish. Wow, what an incredible turn. After that start,
Catchers is insane.
This is insane. And the Beach to boot. Get the KO with Secret Sword. Will only deal 90 because it only boosts its energy, or it only boosts the attack for each water energy attached. That Lightning just fulfilling the colorless requirement since it is triple colorless. But I mean, top making that Keldeo was huge. You build up an attacker, and then of course the heads on that catcher was incredibly powerful. And now Cal's actually not in a bad spot.
Not only does it get him a prize card, but it also sets back the Garbodor by an extra turn, meaning that he doesn't have to stress about being ability locked for now 2 turns instead of 1.
Right, and Stellar saying I think he had to do it holding the Blastoise because losing 2 is just detrimental. And I think also losing the Dowsing Machine, you know, there were so many resources in that hand, the Rare Candy, the double Blastoise, there was a Superior in that hand as well, so a lot of resources that would have gone down. I think the Max Potion is just a luxury at that point. Like, you don't want to lose it, obviously, but you're fine losing that if you have, you know, if you're looking for other cards, and you don't need to deny those 2 prizes as much as you just need to set up your board. So the Max Potion wasn't the worst loss there, but yeah, the Candy, double Blastoise, the Dowsing Machine, all of those cards would have been hugely significant to lose. So incredible top deck and surviving the donk scare potentially there. So we'll see what Gabriel can do in response.
A play that Cal can go for in the next turn is he can go for that Lysander knockout on the Trubbish again, and that effectively removes Garbodor as a threat for the rest of the game. Gabriel only playing the 2-2 line of Garbodor with no way to recover it, so essentially getting rid of the entire threat of Garbotoxin for the rest of the game with just 2 turns into the game.
And it puts you back on even prizes, which is huge. And it was funny, I could see Cal, before he'd even drawn, like the whole drawing the card animation had even happened, he was already hovering over the Lysander. He's like, yep, give me that Trubbish. But puts you back on even prizes now. Something I guess we could see from Gabriel at some point is there is no second Squirtle in play, so maybe if Gabriel is able to set up enough energy on an Yveltal to Lysander KO the Blastoise, before Cal is able to get enough energy attached to this Keldeo or the Kyurem. But right now you're still staring down this Keldeo, which can, out of nowhere, just pile so many energy on it.
Yeah, to get a knockout onto that Blastoise, you only need the 3 energy plus a muscle band plus a laser bank. So it seems really difficult, but in reality, not too hard to hit 140.
Yeah, and the deck does play many copies of the Laser, of the Dark Patch, so, and I think it plays 3 Lysander, if I'm not mistaken, so, you know, definitely
like
an
2,
option. Oh, it's 2, okay. I think the last Yveltal Garb deck was playing 3. Yeah, Catcher Heads was huge, though. Catcher Heads is definitely big. But we get another attacker set up here with this DCE attachment, so we now have, you know, you can Y-Cyclone back, or you can just Evil Ball. Oh, actually, Evil Ball picks up the KO here. Wow. I think I underestimate how much damage Evil Ball does.
Yeah, the Evil Ball math adds up really quickly, especially with decks like Keldeo, where they need to attach multiple energies onto that Pokemon. That Superior Energy Retrieval top deck is also very good, because it just guarantees the knockout right back.
Cal is just drawing really well off the top here.
Normally, you don't really want to have a Lightning Energy on your Keldeo when you're attacking, because it doesn't give you the extra damage boost, but it ended up being beneficial here because it ended up going into the discard pile, which you can get back.
Right, and it doesn't get the damage boost, but it's nice to just have the energy in play, because you could actually hard retreat it at some point to put it in the discard pile, so as long as it's not in the deck where you don't really have an effective way to search it out, you're just having access to it either through the, you know, you most likely either want it in play or in the discard pile, right? Because either it's in play and attached to a Pokemon, or it's in the discard pile where you can fish it out with the Superior Retrieval. So, able to get that on the correct Pokemon to take the 2 prizes with Black Ballista here. And just like that, Cal's down to 2 prizes. I feel like this game, just out of nowhere, really, that Cal was able to just take control.
Cal's so far ahead right now. Not really much of a board state established for Gabriel right now. Might want to go like into the Oblivion Wing Yveltal, trying to set up some chip damage, and then, you know, hide behind that 1 prizer.
See the muscle band attached to the Yveltal. And you say crazy comeback stellar, but I don't even know if it was a comeback. Like, obviously starting off with the Squirtle pass, but you know, outside of the potential to get donked, never really behind. Like, you've been ahead this whole time in this one, and that just shows you the power of Blastoise. Like, all you need to do is get a turn 2 Blastoise and your deck just zooms ahead like this, especially when, wow, just the beach.
Wow, yeah, not even getting that chip damage in. Goes for the catcher tails, so the game will still be a little bit longer.
And it's actually kind of awkward here, because I guess you probably want to go in with this Keldeo, because you don't really want to pile all this energy on the Kyurem to take a KO with Black Ballista on this measly Yveltal. I mean, if you could avoid it, I don't know if you want to take the KO here whatsoever. Like, you could just go, I'm not sure how many catchers are down, but you could just ignore it completely. You know, going down to 1 prize card doesn't really benefit you. Your opponent does. They do at least have the Dark Cloak active, since there is no Garbodor in play, so they have a free retreat with this available. And Cal's hand off that Juniper have plenty of energy, so we can, yeah.
Sets him up into a kind of a checkmate mode, where he can load up multiple attackers into being able to do a 1-hit knockout.
Yeah, I think you just, like you said, just pile the energy in play, spread them out between 2 Pokemon, and then it doesn't matter if your opponent ends you, or, you know, there's really nothing at this point. Unless you're able to take out that Black Kyurem on the bench, in addition to an N, maybe, if you can go, like, catch your heads into an N. I don't really think there's anything else. I guess... No, I'm not really seeing anything else either. You could maybe go in with, like, a laser, get some like really fortunate laser flips or something in combination with an N, but it definitely seems like this is pretty much a checkmate board position for Cal. Especially after that crazy Squirtle pass start with that atrocious opening hand that was perfect for turn 2. This is an option. Bring up a Blastoise or bring up the Kyurem. Do we take the KO currently?
I believe the math should be able to get there. I haven't actually done the math, but
8,
looks like a lot of energy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it's 160. So now it's a KO.
Yeah, I was missing it just by 1.
Yeah.
Does not have the KO.
So Cal should just have the game with another superior, right? I didn't quite see how many have been played. I think it was 2 or 3. It's 3.
It's 3 as long as it's not the last prizes.
Yeah.
He has it guaranteed.
With that Skyla. So Gabriel's betting on Cal not having enough for Keldeo to KO. Well, we only need 2 more energy, and they're going to go into the discard pile with this Kyurem getting knocked out. So you don't, I mean, again, the Keldeo hits harder than it hits harder than I thought, than I remembered it hitting for. So, you know, just 2 more energy will actually pick up that KO. And he doesn't really need a lot, though, is the thing, because now the energy on the discard pile, it's literally just superior energy wins the game. Superior energy retrieval, I should say. And Cal's just holding on to the Skyla, so we don't know for sure if that last retrieval is prized. Cal pushing up the Blastoise, though.
Yeah, the Blastoise is actually the optimal promote there, since Keldeo EX does have Rush in. It's a free, switch up, but, has the Professor's Letter, can go grab those last 2 energies and it'll lock up the game.
And we are going to see a game 3 here. Cal taking this one in a nail biter, I have to say. And going to a game 3 in the finals of Riley's Retro number 5. Hello, Sploosh.
Oh, that Superior was the last prize.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, it needed the energy to be in deck.
But yes, this format is very cool. Honestly, it's one of my favorite more recent formats. I know we were just talking about it being old at this point, but this is kind of the start right before the format started to feel too fast. I think this was like right before it was like super aggressive, super fast turn 2 KOs. I know Blastoise can get there, but it needs a lot of setup to get that. So this is more one of my personal, like, I like this era, definitely, for sure. Nostalgia fun, exactly. Did this start because people already know it was standard, or just nostalgia fun? Yeah, no, it definitely started for nostalgia and fun. A lot of retro collecting was done before COVID, and then a lot of people, especially during COVID and the pandemic lockdown, were like, I need a new hobby to do, something to keep me occupied. And a lot of people started doing like webcam retro games. So it was mostly through needing something to occupy yourself through lockdown that a lot of the retro collecting started, and people who played in standard when these formats were standard and nostalgia and stuff. So I would say definitely more so the fun and nostalgia for it. Yeah, when Noble Victor's full art N was $200. Whew. Very, very expensive card. I think it's still like 40 or 50 now even.
Yeah, I just picked up like a damaged one recently for around like 30, I think.
That's wild. I think I have almost every format on TCU. Bring on the retros. Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing more of you playing Stellar. But speaking of Stellar, this is a Stellar opening from Gabriel, getting double Trubbish down, getting an energy attachment, gets that laser. And that's a pretty great start, plus the research. I keep calling it research. Oh my god. It's so hard to not. It is Juniper. I will correct myself here. I'm going to be a stickler for that one for myself. So even though we're in game 3 of the last match of the tournament, I'm still going to be a stickler. But we get the Floatstone down as well. And I guess that's I was wondering if we ever hold the Floatstone there. You could get N, so I guess it's okay to get it in play. It's probably unlikely your opponent wants to play a Megaphone if they can avoid it that early, so I think it's more likely you get End than Megaphoned, so that seems fine to play it there. And you do play, I think it's got to be at least 3, right?
It looks like Cal actually prized the level ball there, which kind of sets him back just a couple cards. Forces him to play an Ultra Ball instead of the Level Ball. Losing a catcher is kind of a little impactful.
Yeah, definitely seeing some slightly inconvenient prizes for Cal over these last 2 games. Nothing too detrimental, just kind of like slightly annoying with the Level Ball, and then last game with the last superior energy retrieval being prized. And that's just a thing about this Blastoise deck. It's a very combo heavy deck, and your resources are extremely important. So if you don't have access to all of your resources, you need to know what you have access to, and that's why it's really important to check those prizes when you can and make sure you have access to all those resources. I hold these retro tournaments every week. You have Vikabulu? Bring it on. I would gladly host a tournament for you to play Vikabulu. So I host these every Thursday night. 7 p.m. Eastern time is when these start. But I'm also thinking about expanding to adding a second tournament every week on a weekend. So probably like a mid-afternoon and a weekend day or something like that. Or maybe like every 2 weeks or something. So I will definitely add that as well. But if you want to join my Discord server, that is the Riley's Retro Discord server. You are welcome to join. That's where we talk about, vote on new formats, where we talk about what decks we want to play, what cards. If you need any cards to help build a deck, you can go into the trade room. So feel free to join there. We can look forward to seeing you in another tournament in the future, hopefully. So rocking that Vikabulu. But in the meantime, Cal does get the Professor's Letter. We have enough energy to attack with this Keldeo, but that's definitely not the desired recipient of that lightning energy. Cal does get the Ultra Ball, though, so can thin out a couple of these cards, go grab the black Kyurem, slap that lightning energy onto it, and then N. Joined. Welcome, welcome, thank you. Cal only finding the 1 water energy. Also join about retro, but you enjoy watching? Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. I'm actually thinking about converting the Riley's Retro server into like something that goes with my stream. So it's more like just like, I don't know, the Riley Cinematic Universe in Discord, and then we'll make like a part of it be the retro server. So it might end up being a way to just like hang out and support me as a streamer too and a content creator. So massively appreciate you being there, especially if you're not a retro fan. That means a lot to me that you're just here to hang out. I appreciate it. So playing Speed Lugia. Yeah, we were looking over some of Cal's other decks earlier, and Speed Lugia is a very, very fun one. But Speed is not what Cal's doing currently. Just have to use that Tropical Beach, so going to be giving up 2 prizes this turn to this Yveltal. Not where you want to be, but we do have an N, we do have the energy. As long as we're able to find the 3rd energy, I guess the 4th energy total to attach to this Kyurem, can at least get the response KO and maybe N to 4. We already have the Megaphone in hand as well to get rid of that Garbotoxin lock. And a card we haven't talked about yet to this point, Matt, is that Plasma Absol we see on the bench.
Right, it does 20 plus 20 more for each benched Pokemon that your opponent has. So right now, it's going to be able to take the knockout pretty easily.
And a 1 prizer, so, being able to preserve your Yveltal on the bench. And since you're staring down double Kyurem on Cal's bench, this is a great way to mitigate the damage that Black Ballista is going to do, since it's unlikely Cal can just get the full combo of energy, removing the tool, and a Lysander. Playing Yeti. Yes, Plasma with Lugia and Snorlax, and the block Snorlax, the Plasma Snorlax, did have a really good, was it Team Play or something I think it was called?
Team Pact.
Team Pact. Yeah. Very, very strong. For
each Plasma Pokemon you had in play. So it was hitting like 180 when that was a very important number too.
Well, especially if you have the Deoxys in play to boost it up as well. And it was also, I think it cost like 5 energy or something.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. Like 5 colorless, but it had the block ability too. I'm kind of sad we didn't see any TDK or any kind of plasma decks in this tournament, but Those can be a little bit harder to get. I think online is probably the main concern. DCE Colress Machine. Yeah, Colress Machine and DCE for sure make that a little bit easier.
It's also able to play Scramble Switch, which allowed it to, like, you know, you'd hit with the Lugia and then Scramble Switch into the Snorlax and
Scramble Switch was very, very fun card. But this is a tough position to be in if you're Cal. Had to Beach again, offering up this Squirtle to the Absol. We do have 2 attackers pretty much ready to go on the bench, but now we can take a KO with this other single prizer in the Yveltal, and this is looking pretty good. We're down to 3 prizes for Gabriel. We have plenty of attackers in play with energy on them. The Absol, because now Cal only has 2 bench Pokemon, Absol's threat is definitely lower. It wasn't going to be taking a 1-hit KO anyway, but it's not really doing too much damage. Might be enough to just set up a 2-hit KO somewhere, but Cal really hoping, I mean, you got to imagine you're looking for maybe a Pokemon catcher to just start chasing down 2 prizers, but I mean, we're taking the KO with Black Ballista for 1 prize. Feels horrible here.
Yeah, using a lot of resources just to get just 1 prize card feels bad.
Definitely feels terrible. And especially when you're looking down at the 2, I mean, I guess the Yveltal is really the biggest threat here, but, you know, you're staring down an Yveltal that could very easily come up and just hit you for huge damage. And your hand, at least you have the double superior energy retrieval, but that could really come back to bite Cal if the Floatstone is found to reestablish that Garbotoxin lock. So it really comes down to what Gabriel is able to pull off on this turn. If they're able to get a Floatstone, this hand could turn really ugly for Cal, needing to Juniper away 2 retrievals to even get an attack this turn. Might play TDK another time. For a sec I thought it was Virgin. Yeah, Virizion Genesect is a very fun deck. For sure. Very strong in this format too. But TDK is cool. Personally, like, I think TDK is a lot more of a nuanced deck since you have a bunch of different attackers you can use. Whereas Virizion Genesect is a little bit more linear. You have like 2 Pokemon total in the deck. Or, you know, 2 different types of Pokemon. So not my favorite deck to play of all time. I definitely do enjoy the other decks, and TDK especially like Speed Lugia. Like, all the Plasma decks are really cool. And wow, this was absurd. Like, I wasn't even thinking we could get a KO here, but that was a Dark Patch, DCE plus Muscle Band to get the 1-hit KO on that Kyurem. And down to just 1 prize card remaining, and all Cal can do is Black Ballista for the KO, which, to be fair, you are taking out a huge threat, so it seems fairly unlikely, if not impossible, for you to lose the game on the next turn. I think even to KO this Blastoise on the bench, you would still need, what, like a DCE plus Dark Patch plus Lysander and Muscle Band, I think would be the combo. Yeah. That's asking a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of cards, but this Floatstone right here is really detrimental because Cal has no way to draw more cards or search out that Startling Megaphone. So if he can't get one of those off the top deck, he's going to be limited to using Slash for just 60 damage next turn.
Which is not where you want to be. And yeah, Stellar, down 3 DCE, 3 Dark Patch as well. Down a lot of resources for a Gabriel, and to get a Colress here for only 5. But yeah, Cal's just looking at this hand and like, what do I do with this? And I think the Megaphone had already been used, correct? There's 1 down.
Right, one's been used, and the Dowsing Machine.
And not sure if we have access to the other one. I feel like I might have seen that one was prized, the Megaphone. I don't recall if that was last game or this one, but if you don't have access to that, that's even worse. Like, you're just stuck manually attaching to this Kyurem. At least Gabriel is down a bunch of energy, so there is the possibility that maybe they whiff an attack here, and you at least have that much more time to manually attach to your Kyurem. But yeah, it's terrifying just looking over at the other side of the board, and you're like, well, you have 1 prize left and Garbotoxin active, and I have a terrible hand. Hello, Trainer Red. It's going very well. We're in the finals, game 3 of Riley's Retro number 5 between Gabriel and Cal. And coming down to the wire, so really, really exciting to see how this one finishes and plays out. And Gabriel did get the last Dark Patch, so at least getting another energy into play to have that threat of the Yveltal on the following turn. And I don't think they've attached for turn either, so they should still have an option to attack with the active. And yes, Sploosh, this was next SNE's 2 Flash Fire. But Gabriel taking their time. Do they have a attachment? I think the biggest thing here might be the attachment. I don't know how many energies they play. I think it's usually 7-ish. So maybe we're just going to go in with this Junk Hunt. They get that attachment down. Could go for some Dark Patches here. Maybe if your hand's dead, you go for that Random Receiver like Matt was mentioning earlier. See what they choose to get off of this, though. And a card, we haven't really even talked about it a lot, but Junk Hunt, Sableye, was an incredibly powerful card in this deck, in this format. It was just so good as a kind of a middling, you know, late game in these situations to get back resources. Early games, you can force your opponent through odd prizes. And just getting back Dark Patches, getting back all kinds of resources. And just what you saw, like as I mentioned, the Dark Patch and Random Receiver. So in the Juniper top deck, ugh,
that's rough.
That's yuck. That is so yucky. I mean, Slash doesn't even take the KO here.
No, it'd miss it by 10 damage, which is unfortunate for Cal. But would also lose all 4 of his superior energy retrievals if he goes for this Juniper play. And
there's nothing left. I mean, looking at that deck, there's no energy. There's no retrievals. There's no megaphone. Like, you can't research. You can't Juniper this hand. I did it again. Dang it. But you can't Juniper this hand. I guess Beach makes the most sense, but wow, that is so atrocious. And we saw a couple other supporters.
Lysander.
And we did get the Random Receiver off this Junk Hunt, so Gabriel going to be looking for that Lysander. Not sure if they have the final DCE in hand. They get an N, so maybe they choose to play the N. Obviously, Cal did just Beach, but then you run the risk of ending yourself to 1. But ending yourself to 1 with Junk Hunt Sableye means you can at least go get that Random Receiver back and potentially get the game-winning Lysander on the next turn, or get a Juniper or something like that if you need to continue drawing cards. So honestly, ending yourself to 1 here doesn't seem like it's the worst thing. And I'm surprised that... Did we see a supporter played at all? I don't think so. I guess you can just go in with the Junk Hunt and keep your hand. So you could get, like, another Dark Patch. And, I mean, just the same 2 cards even. The Random Receiver again to dig for that Lysander, maybe. And maybe Gabriel just holding on to a piece.
There's no pressure right now here for Gabriel because... Cal is at 3 prizes remaining, so it's really just on Cal right now to find a knockout and then for Gabriel to respond.
And wow, you just go for the Black Ballista. So I do believe there was a Megaphone prized. I think we had confirmed that. So if Cal is able to take the Megaphone off this prize here, we have a 33% chance to pull it. Do we get it? And no, we don't. I feel like that just spells that has to just be game over. I don't think there's any way you can get enough time to attach manually 3 times to your Black Kyurem. And I think this might just end up being the game, if not this turn, in the next turn or 2. Of course, we could see this Yveltal come up, and even if it doesn't hit for a KO, it could put some pressure out. But alternatively, Gabriel doesn't know that Cal doesn't have the game-winning combination on the next turn, so I guess potentially maybe if you play it too aggressive, you could, or too conservative even, you could, you know, I guess overextend trying to play around this very slim chance that Cal has the game. But like you could even go in like the Absol or something and just completely just, you know, sit there and wait until your opponent does something. But I guess Cal's holding on to a lot of cards in hand, so, and you know that the superior energy retrieval was played to get 3 energy back. So I guess if you're thinking like the only cards that Cal needs to win the game are Megaphone, Lysander. And they have this huge hand, and we know 3 of those cards in hand are energy. I guess maybe you're like thinking you need to play this N potentially, and without the Sableye to follow up into that, I'm thinking maybe Gabriel could kind of play too hard against those minimal outs. But see the Juniper, no N coming down. They had the Lysander as well, so they were very close to just getting the game outright with Lysander on the Blastoise. But we see the Laser. And this just feels like insult to injury. Do we have the Verbank? I think that's the only piece missing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Just
7,
missing the knockout right now. I think they still need either another energy or muscle band and then Verbank.
Yeah, I think they're doing like 140 right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 140, 150 with the poison. So yeah, just missed the stadium really. That would have been it. Or no,
the
I went to
stadium
10
plus the
short.
muscle band.
Yeah, 10 short. So, but even just putting this much pressure out and going for the 2-shot, I think that makes perfect sense. Just in case, but I mean, actually, I'm not sure that it does. I guess maybe this plays around the Lysander out?
It plays around the Lysander play, but there's not really anything that that Cal can do right here.
Yeah, and I think Cal's just looks like Cal's yeah, in my last prize. Yep. And we did confirm the last Megaphone in the prizes. So this will be just game over. Cal can play this max potion and no way. And yeah, I mean, you're just looking at it. If Cal didn't prize the last Megaphone, would have just had game that turn. Had Skyla, had the energies, had the energy retrieval, would have just been game over on board for Cal. Well, I guess not necessarily, because you did have to retreat. You'd have to.
Keldeo, the Russian retreat would be enough.
And then you have enough energy. Yeah. So Cal did just have game in hand if that Megaphone wasn't prized, but of course that is how it works with Pokemon. Sometimes the prizes can get you. So looks like this game is going to go to Gabriel, barring some miraculous, misclick or something like that. But Cal really just having 0 outs left, and again, being down those resources, being down the Megaphone, the dowsing machine, so many energy retrievals being down, coming back to bite him in the end. And I think it's going to be just another attach pass and good game. Cal just kind of looking through.
There's no options for him. There we go, just the pass.
And that's going to do it. This one is going to go to Gabriel, avenging the 2nd place finish in Riley's Retro number 4. And that's actually a theme we've seen. Cash got 2nd in Riley's Retro number 3 just to win it in number 4. And now Gabriel with the Revenge Tour, taking the tournament with Yveltal, Garb, winning Riley's Retro number 5, the 2014 Worlds format. Congrats to them. Hugely well played by both players. And super exciting to see. Congrats again to Gabriel.